Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Welcome to Dev with Excel. Alright, so in our previous video, we were able to solve exercise 2.18, which is data for country step 1, and we're able to find countries with different match, right? So if we type a word such as SW, which we have here, we see that we have four different countries, right, showing up in the front end in the browser, showing us that these countries also they contain SW, right? And therefore we can choose to write the specific names of the countries to return their data, right? So in this video we are going to be solving exercise 2.19, which is the step 2, and it says improve on the application in the previous exercise such that when the names of multiple countries are shown on the page, there is a button next to the name of the country which when pressed shows the views for that country, right? So we are expected to do something like this. So if we type a word such as, let's say we have a word like SW, which you can see on the screen here, SW, you can see that we have four different countries showing up. So we want to target just each of them by adding a button next to each of them so as to give the user the privilege to select the country he or she wants to see their data, right? So let's head into the code implementation to see how we can solve this. All right, so let me just scroll up here. All right, so here I actually added the coat of arm to what should be displayed on the browser, right? So this is the code. You can also try to just add this to your code. This is optional, right? This is not part of what we are supposed to do, but I was just playing with the code and I decided to do this. So you can as well do this, right? So all right, so let's go to the browser and see what happens. Let's type a country such as, let's say, Ghana. So we can see that we have the capital, the area, the language they speak, which is English, their flag, and also their coat of arm. Let's type a country such as Switzerland. Switzerland. Okay, so this is their flag and this is their coat of arms, right? Let's also try a country. Okay, so let's leave that and then let's move on to what we want to do. All right, let me be sure that I'm in the setup folder. So here, okay, step 2. All right, so that's awesome. So yeah, what we want to do is if we type in, let's say, SW, here we can see we have four different countries showing up here, right? But here you want to attach buttons beside each of them so that at the click of those buttons, their data shows in the browser. All right, so we are concerned with this part of the code. This part that says when the countries that are returned are more than one and not more than 10, right? Right? They are more than one and also they're not more than 10. So they are between 1 and 11, so to speak, right? So 10 is included, right? Okay, so we need to write a function to handle the button. Therefore, it means that we need to create a state for that. So what we can do here is we go to the top of our code and write a state. Let's say we have const. Let's let's write selected country or select country. Okay, so let's write selected country. Then the next one should be set selected country. So this should be set selected country. So we assign this to null value, right? So let's save this. So here we have a null here, right? So the next thing we want to do is we want to write the function that is going to handle this button, right? So this is how we can write it. We can write it anywhere outside any of these functions, right? But inside the use effect. So we can choose to write it here. We can choose to write it here. Let's write it somewhere here. Okay, let's come here to write it. It doesn't matter. So let's say const. Let's call it handle country button, right? Let's call it handle country, or let's call it handle country data, or let's put button so we know it's a button, right? So we do this. So we are going to be using the this is let's use the implicit return, right? So that means we are going to be using the round bracket instead. So we won't have to write the return keyword itself. So here we can just come here and then we go to the set selected country here. We copy what we have here and then we put it here. Then inside it, we simply write country. And since we are passing country here as an argument, we need to pass it here as a parameter as well. So we have this and we save it. Then the next thing we'll be concerned with is using this handle country name itself. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we need to use this handle country button, right? And like I said, we are concerned with this part, right? So we are going to be putting a button here. So where is the best place to put a button? Beside the country names that are returned. So if I type in SW here, we want we want the button to be beside each of these country names, right? And that's here. So we are going to be doing something like this. Then we create the button, right? So how do we do this? How do we do this? All right, so before putting the curly brace, I think here we need to write this inside the li or outside the li. Did we close this li? Let me go back to okay. Okay, all right, here. So we actually have this li closed here. Yes. All right, so what we want to do is now um beside this, we are simply going to use the button tag and do something like this, right? So inside the button, we simply just put a text. Let's call it show, or we can just say show data or show country data. I think this is descriptive, right? It's descriptive. All right, so inside the button, we need to give it some attributes, and the attribute to be needing here is the on click attribute because here we are working with a button, right? So inside this curly brace here, we are simply going to copy this handle country button and then we paste it here. Let's save this and let's refresh. Let's see if this works at this point. So let's click on show country data. Okay, so at this point nothing works, right? So it's expected not to work actually because after getting this, this part only talks about handling the name of the countries to display, which are these, right? So what we want to do is that we want this we are going to be handling this part so that talks about the capital, the area, the language, the flag, and the coat of arms, right? So here, how do we solve this? One thing we just need to do here, we don't have so many things to actually do here. What one thing we can just do is we are going to be replacing this country square bracket 0. So everywhere we get or we find countries square bracket 0 in this particular part of the code, we'll be replacing it with selected country, which is which is this, right? So we just simply, so no longer these countries now, but this. So we simply just copy this, and then here we remove countries dot length equals 1. We take it out and we paste selected country, right? So we also take this out and we paste selected country. We take this out. So we are taking out every part we find countries square bracket 0. So we can find it here also. So we paste it here. We take this also out. We paste it here. Here as well. And I think this should be the last one. Okay, so let's save our code. Code saved, right? Um, hope nothing broke, right? So our code is saved now. Let's refresh this. All right, so let's type SW. Let's click on show country data. It disappears or something has broken. Okay, so how can we handle this? Let's be very sure that we're able to remove every part we have country square bracket 0. Before that, let's check the developers tool to know exactly what is going on. Okay, it's saying cannot read the property of undefined. Let's close this. Let's refresh. SW. Let's click on Switzerland. It's saying cannot read properties of undefined. I think there is something we are yet to do actually. So let's go back to the code implementation. Let's check through every part. Mm, okay. So this part is where we actually have the issue, right? We are not just supposed to just put this, right? So if you check handle country button properly, it accepts a parameter. So this is a function, right? So we are supposed to use it as a function here. So inside of it, what we are going to be putting there is country, right? That's why it was saying that. That's why it was giving us this error here. Let me go back to the developers too. That's why we're having this error here. It was saying cannot read properties of undefined reading common, right? Because we didn't pass in the necessary parameters. So here we have country here, and then since this is a function, we do something like this, right? Now let's save this and see if this code works. All right, it appears it's going to work. Let's type SW, then let's click on show country data. Awesome, awesome. So we have the flag, we have the coat of arms, the languages area, the capital, and the country name itself. Awesome. So let's type in Nigeria to see if we can get. Okay. Let's refresh. Let's type Nigeria. Okay, so we can see that here we have Niger and Nigeria returned on the browser, right? So let's check for Niger first. Let's see the country data. So we have capital is Niamey. The languages they speak French. This is their flag. This is their coat of arm. Okay, so let's check. Let's click on show country data for Nigeria. All right, so this is their flag and this is the coat of arm for Nigeria. All right, there's a little typo on my country here. I'm supposed to remove that R before T. So let me just come here and then remove this R before T. All right, so this works fine, right? Let's go back to the instruction in the exercise to be very sure we've implemented what is required. All right, So it says in this exercise, it is also enough that your application works for most countries. Countries whose name appears in the name of another country like Sudan can be ignored. All right, so we understand that. But let's just try Sudan. Let's see what we get for Sudan. Okay, so here we have South Sudan. We also have Sudan. Let's click on show country data for Sudan. All right, so this is what we have for Sudan. All right, awesome, awesome. All right, so at this point, I believe we've been able to successfully implement our code, right? And I believe it's working fine. So if you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to this channel, and see you in the next video. Bye.